regardless of that, you are here now, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. How's your day going so far, Johni?
It's been pretty good so far. Had a nice early beer, which was quite nice, you know, just a quick pub lunch. And then, yeah, other than that, not much.
That's good enough, man. It's good that it's relaxed as we are on the home stretch to the release of the new album, Electric Ram, out April 28th via Mongrel Records. Where's your head at with it right now? Are you at that stage where you just want the full thing out?
Yeah, very much so. I just got a photo now from Warren from Mongrel Records. He just sent me through a photo of the first physical copy that's been opened in, where was it? I think in Spain, one of our distributors. So I've been stressing about that. I was like, are they going to be on time? Do we know? So that's good. They've just shown up at the distributors, and now I'm fairly relaxed. Now I just kind of want them to be out and about, you know?
Absolutely, that's great news. And has the positive response to the music release so far, the singles, kind of helped relax your mind when it comes to how the full thing is likely to be received?
I think to some degree, yes, but also not really, because the singles were, I think, some of the less weird tracks on the album. So the whole time I've been thinking, like, how will people receive this? And then we release something that I think is, you know, I didn't expect anyone to receive them negatively, and it's been fine. So, but now my head is just like, but wait till they hear the other things. Oh no. But nah, I'm not worried really. I'm interested more than anything else. I just want to see what people think about it.
Oh yes, no, I get that, and we'll talk a little bit more at the end. I've got a question specific around experimentation, but for now, the work that's gone into Electric Ram, the time and effort that you have spent working on it, this feels more refined. This feels different. Has the experience for you been a more refined one?
Very much so. I mean, just leading up to it, the way we handled it has been different. I mean, things started changing around when we did the previous one, when we started with the Devil's Cattle. We started being more serious about, you know, particularly doing things correctly, which beforehand wasn't the vibe. We always had a very, we used to call it a very black metal spirit. We were just like, yeah, let's get let's get a take. Even if it's the worst take, it doesn't matter as long as it's the first take. And record it through some potatoes, and then we release it. Fantastic, you know? And then afterwards we were like, I mean, that's fun and all, but it is a bit self-sabotaging to some degree. I mean, we might as well just do a proper job. So experience-wise, this one was weird. This is the first time, I think, ever that I did multiple guitar takes, for instance, to make sure you get the best one, which is not something I've ever done before, which I know sounds silly because that's fairly industry standard and has always been. Yeah, so it felt different just properly producing an album.
Less fun overall, or did you manage to get a lot of enjoyment out of it?
No, I think it actually turned out to be more fun, honestly. There was a little less pressure maybe, and it opened up some more avenues for experimentation at the end of the day. You know, we had a chance to be like, okay, this sounds cool, but why is this not, you know, why don't we just do a really sickly sweet harmonizing guitar? And then, you know, we can, because we're sitting there and we have a chance to do another take. So that I think it helped.
Well, take me back to the early days of Electric Ram, in particular, a vision. Did you have one for what you wanted this record to be? And if so, what did it look like?
Actually, no, initially not at all. I had tunes that we already started writing in 2020, just like after the release of the Devil's Cattle. Actually, one of the demos for Electric Ram that became a track on the album was musically even a demo in the time that the Devil's Cattle was being made, but none of them had lyrics. They weren't going in a specific direction or anything. There was just music behind it, all sorts of interesting experimentation and stuff like that. So there was a body of work musically for a while, and then the concept happened, I think, only at the end of 2021, then
Mm.
then the concept came up for what should the album be about lyrically and thematically. And then out of that also came some extra songs that were in the end added, and some other things were left out because they didn't make sense to the theme anymore.
Well, how did you get to the concept and, well, the thematic theme and the lyrical content? How did you get to that particular point? Was it external factors around you internally?
Entirely so. It was actually a very dark time in my life, so I'm sorry to take it down this route, but this is where we're going. I was institutionalized for a little bit because I had developed severe agoraphobia, which was it started from PTSD from some earlier things in my life, and it was sort of triggered around the time of COVID and everything happening around there. So I had to go in and get proper treatment, or else end up being a drunken mess, basically. Got it fixed though, so that's great. But the concept developed in there while I was there. It became a thing about I guess like a character sketch. It's about mental health in a sense and overcoming the problems around it, but it's also character sketches of specific people that I met while I was in there, and seeing these people and how they've gone through life and their stories. And then that kind of mixes and matches with what was happening to me personally, and it just became this whole narrative arc of going through the motions of mental illness.
That's incredible.
So, yeah.
So it is a deeply personal record for you then?
It definitely is, which is weird because at some point I was under the impression that how I usually do it is when I handle the lyrics or whatever, I always feel like I'm from a spectator side. I do sometimes write about myself, but more generally I write other people's experience into a personal narrative, and that's how I've just usually done it. And this time I thought I was doing the same thing until we were kind of getting down to it and actually recording what I had written down. I was like, oh wait, no, this is more intensely personal than I had expected as it was happening. I thought I was being sly about it, but I really wasn't. So but it's good.
And what was the rest of the band's initial reaction to hearing, reading, and understanding what you were writing?
I think it was good, actually, with the guys in the band. There was some hesitation, I think, from my side, but we're a close-knit group, and we get along well, and we support each other wherever we can. And they knew I was going through this at the time, so it wasn't they knew what was going to come out of it, I think, or I think they initially were ready for that kind of record to be made. But they enjoyed the lyrics as they came out, and nobody was weird about it. So yeah, I think overall a positive response.
Well, it's resulted in something quite phenomenal. But I have to ask you, considering the work you have put into it, what was some of the more challenging moments of working on a record, be it from a writing, recording, production, mastering, whatever phase that you thought, okay, this was particularly challenging?
There were a couple of moments, I'm not gonna lie. There was a lot of back and forth on this one, in different phases of the record. But I think the most challenging bit was actually about the last let's say 4 months when we were working on it, which was mixing and mastering phase. And it's not because the process wasn't smooth or it wasn't working out. The guy who did the mixing for us, Matthew Think from Atomic Studios, is also affiliated to Mongrel Records, well, at least to the holding company Just Music. He did a really good job, and that was fantastic, and we had a good working relationship there. But I think at that point we were just frustrated, it was just time to get it out kind of vibe. And then you still have to do now you've done all this work already, and now you have to meticulously listen to make sure you get the best product out that you possibly can. I think that was the toughest bit for me, and probably some of the other dudes in the band as well. I think we were just, at that point, we were annoyed, really. We were like, we just need this to be done, because we don't usually take this long with a record. Usually we release every year, so it was weird. But Yeah, but it wasn't a bad experience. It was just challenging from a childish perspective, let's say that.
It can be a
Just
long and
wanting everything.
laborious. It can be a
Yeah.
totally long and laborious experience. I think any artist can completely understand where you come from there, but also like it is an experience nonetheless. What about aspects that you particularly enjoyed? Was there a phase that you just thought, yeah, that was so much fun, that was so interesting, and I may have learned something from it?
Yeah, weirdly enough, I think, and it came down to a specific song. There's a song on the album, right, just before I continue. So there was one specific song, Chemically Humanized, right, which is the last track on the album. That one was the most enjoyable track to record, which was really weird because it was also the toughest track to record, I think, in terms of the lyrical content and whatnot. So it's a really intense track, but it's really beautiful. And it was just a fun experience making it, because it was figuring out layers of acoustic instruments, which I've just never done before. So that was a whole new experience for me, just kind of, because I can play acoustic guitar, but you know what's the classic old Metalocalypse sayings is the grandpa's guitars, you know? So you just don't do, it's not done. But it was fun just doing that, and just you know, you kind of feel like you're not limited by the sound of a specific genre or an album or whatever, and we just got down to doing whatever we want. So started out and we are like, yeah, this kind of sounds like Led Zeppelin, that's fantastic. And then later we're like, no, but now it sounds like Pink Floyd. And we're like, you know what, just keep putting things in there, just, you know. And then at some stage we put too much in, which we realized playing it back, and we were like, oh, this sounds absolutely horrible. And then we had to go back and take some stuff out. But it was a really fun experience making that. And it was the last thing to be recorded from this album, which kind of, it gave like a kind of release, just everyone being just ecstatic about working on a song and not just laboring away at something for a while. So that was good.
Oh, that's incredible. I love that. I love that. And I love the album overall. It sounds and feels to me like the definitive Ruff Majik album, meaning from that, all the releases and the shows you've done seem to have helped you find the perfect formula for what you want to do. Now, is what I'm saying there a fair summation, or do you see it differently?
It's a weird one, because I do think this has been the closest we've ever been to actually encapsulating a sound that is our sound, which is weird saying that because it's a very schizophrenic sounding record, you know, because it's just happening all over the place. But in that sense, I think that's also a good pointer to what we would do in the future. I don't think you're ever going to get a Ruff Majik album again, which is just straight on the nose, just down one lane, a specific genre. I think it's always, from this point on, they're going to be weird and expansive, and we're going to do all of the things we like to do, because that seemingly worked out.
Fantastic. And is there a particular track on the album that hasn't been released yet that you are most interested to hear the feedback on? We did talk about some of the other ones earlier on.
Yeah, I think probably the one that I just mentioned, Chemically Humanized. I think that's the most chill Ruff Majik has ever gone, so I'm interested to see what people will feel about that. Also, Rave to the Grave, which is coming out as the focus track as the album releases, because that's the most pop track we've ever made. And it's, you know, it's also, it's got, I guess it's kind of sarcastic, but even if I didn't end up writing sarcastic lyrics about it, I would still have enjoyed the song, because it's just like a yay, you know, you just kind of feel like you want to go rave to the grave, basically. So, but I think that's going to definitely annoy a bunch of people, specifically some of our more hardcore fans. But, you know, I guess it goes that way. But some other people might like it. I don't know. So I'm very interested to see how it's going to go down when it comes down to the wire.
Yeah, same here, same here. But I mean, I think my favorite track on it right now is Queen of the Gorgons, but that will actually change tomorrow. Ask me tomorrow, I'll say another one. Well, a song,
fantastic.
But on alongside that, a song about drugs with a clever title might be the strangest for me personally. Two examples of your incredible experimentation on this album. So I have to ask them, we've talked a little bit about experimentation, but did you kind of decide on a free-for-all when it came to it? But alongside that, how do you rein in your imaginations?
Oh, that's that's a heavy question. Yeah, it wasn't so much of a free for all, I guess, but it was what happened was um a ways back, it would be a thing like we're writing a riff or whatever, right? And then you have the riff and you kind of present it and you're like, oh, this is kind of the idea where we're going. And then it'd be like, yeah, but this is, it's not dark enough. Or if it's not dark, then at least it's not heavy enough or whatever. And this was the first time, I guess, we were just like, so what? It's like, is it fun to play? Great. We're going to be playing these things live. So why not just have fun while we're doing it? So I guess that's why it came out weird, because in a sense it was a free for all because nothing was off the table unless it was shit. Someone came in and they played a riff or a composition or whatever, and it's not a good composition. We'd have been like, no, yeah, that's not going to work. But and we did, some of the things just didn't make it. They just weren't good enough. But yeah, the ones that did make it, like I said, it wasn't that thing of being like, oh, that's too it's again the self-sabotage thing. I think back in the day also we'd be like, that's too catchy. We wouldn't want a catchy song on a record. That kind of goes against whatever we had set up in our minds at that time. And now this time around I was just like, no, catchy's good. I like that. I want people to have it stuck in their heads for a while.
Yeah, and it's not like it's a complete mental shift, complete about turn for your music either. It's not like, oh my God, it's a totally different band.
No, definitely not. And I mean, you can only get so far away from a sound if you're still using the same pedal board. It's still it's still drenched in fuzz and ugly guitar noises. So you can you can only change it up so much, honestly.
Of course, you guys, Ruff Majik is a well-known name within the South African rock and metal scene, and the wider world is really getting to know you more and more. It seems to be spreading nicely around. But, of course, there is still the biggest challenge of all, which is turning Ruff Majik into a household name around the world. What do you see as the biggest challenge in doing that, and how do you plan to overcome it?
It's weird because I have a very specific answer for it. I think the biggest challenge for us right now is to get our Spotify numbers up, right? Which I know that sounds strange because that's just a standardized thing that people do. But for the longest time, I think up until this record, we were just, as a band, very against Spotify, right? I'm not a fan in terms of the way they pay out to artists and just their business model in general, all that kind of stuff. But going into this album, we had a sit down kind of, and we were like, listen, it's you kind of have to, it's a necessary evil. You need to figure it out. And that's been tough because now it's the first time ever where when we were starting to work on this, on Spotify specifically, because we got people that got into Ruff Majik, and a lot of people, but it's usually through like our Bandcamp or YouTube or whatever, no focus on Spotify ever. So going into this album release cycle, we started out with like, I think maybe 1,000 monthly listeners, which wasn't a lot. And it's been slowly chipping away, moving upwards, trying to get it more and more. And yeah, that's been a challenge for me. Just mentally, I'm like, I hate this thing, but I kind of have to work with it and I have to figure it out. But we've been doing it, it's and that, unfortunately, you got to be real with yourself. If you're aiming for something like a household name or whatever, that's where it's at. If you're not on Spotify, it's you're wasting your own time, honestly. So that's what it came down to.
Well, yeah, if you ignore it, if you decide, oh, I'm not going to play the game, as it were, you're just pushing against the tide. It's pointless to even try.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's definitely the most challenging part of it so far, was just actually playing the game now for the first time since the inception of Ruff Majik. But it's all right. I think we're managing it so far.
Yeah, I think it's important as well, though, it can go another way, which is then becomes obsessive about the numbers, and it can be then obviously quite damaging potentially to a person's mental health, or just how they feel about music in general when those numbers fluctuate and go all over the place and don't hit what you want them to hit. It can be messy.
No, definitely. So it's been more of a motion of trying to get people onto the fact that we do actually release our music via Spotify and that kind of thing, and
Yeah.
not so much the numbers, but every
Yeah.
little bit that comes in is like a small victory. Like in the offices, or when me and Warren have video calls, we're like, all right, it went up with X%. Woo, great, we did a good job. And then it's right back to the grind. But it's not so much about the numbers. I don't care about that. It's just knowing that people would be out there listening. That's the important thing.
It's each in one individual number is a new pair of ears.
Exactly, and that's fantastic.
All right, Johni, we reached the part of the interview now where it becomes a little randomized. I'm going to be throwing a selection of random questions at you that are pulled from 500, randomly chosen for you. They can be serious, they can be nonsensical. Are you ready?
Sick. Yeah,
right.
We're so ready.
What's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
I stretch and I walk outside. And I walk back inside and get back into bed, honestly. That's pretty much how it goes.
I was convinced, considering what we know now, is that you were going to say light up a cigarette. That's normally the first thing for a smoker.
Yeah, so that does happen sometimes, but less regularly. I think I wake up and I walk and I'm like, yeah, but I'm not fully awake yet, so I go stand outside and I'm like, oh, it sucks. It's way too bright out here, and I'm just right back in bed, And then when I wake up, yes, light up a cigarette for sure.
All right, what is your poker tell, if you have one?
My poker tell?
I
don't know if I have one, because I don't play a lot of poker. But I'm assuming it's got something to do with my very expressive eyebrows somewhere. So probably I do something like ho, and then people are like, okay, all right, you know what's happening.
Even the sunglasses wouldn't work then.
I think that's okay. Yeah, no, this just goes right above, honestly.
What has been your favorite place to play to date?
That's a hard one. I think my favorite that we've ever done was probably Sonic Blast Fest at when they were still in Melido. I believe that was in 2018. That was fantastic. But just the whole experience of the festival was fantastic. It's just like coastal city, and then coastal town, and the entire town is overrun by a bunch of long-haired, grungy looking kids just really keen to hear some loud music. So that was quite fun. Also, we played like right next to a big like Olympic-sized pool, and we all went for a swim during the set. So that was that was special.
That is a memory you may never get to experience again. That's incredible.
Yeah.
What's an unpopular opinion you have about heavy metal in general?
That's a good question. I think it's time for a bunch of the older cats to step down, which is right now a very unpopular opinion, considering Metallica's smashing new album that just came out, like literally right now. But yeah, I think it's about time to see some of the guys who've been working hard over the years to just be those top billed headliners at the moment. You know what it is? You always see the Metallica and the Iron Maiden, and they're always the ones up there, and love them to bits, obviously. Would love to see them all 1,000 times more, but it's time. It's time for some other guys to move up in the ranks, I feel.
I don't think you're wrong. We won't have a slew of new headliners if they don't.
Yeah, but it is an unpopular thing because people are usually like, oh yeah, but they've been at this for years and they're the only guys capable of playing this big show and that kind of shit. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that could be true if you didn't, if you've never seen live footage of like Ghost, which I'm not a big fan of, by the way, but just they could totally play a stadium headliner 100% with no problems. So yeah, anyway.
No, it's good. It's good. It's good. All right. Do you think you could survive in a zombie apocalypse? And if you do, why?
Yeah, I do. Well, no, okay. So see, this is a hard one. you're gonna have to specify the type of zombies we're talking about.
Okay,
right.
right. Classic. No, we're going to do classic Romero, slow moving, shuffling, but lots of them en masse.
Oh yeah, then 100%. I could do that. I couldn't do Resident Evil zombies, but slow zombies for sure. Just because getting down to it, it would depend on where I was, right? But if I am in South Africa, everyone here has a car. It's not a sense of you're going to have to try and find a vehicle to escape to places or that kind of shit. So we have cars because of just terrible, I guess, xenophobia or whatever that we have in South Africa. Just over the years, everything has high walls everywhere, you know, so you already have kind of like built-in security all over the place. You have cars and all that kind of shit, and it's fairly easy to get a hold of weaponry, you know. So that's kind of bleak in the way I just explained the country, I guess, but I would definitely survive an apocalypse, that's for sure.
I think, yeah, the reality of it is country by country. You know, in the UK, we ain't got much in the way of weapons, so it's not going to be, survival isn't going to be great. But hey, put me in America, it might be a bit easier. Who knows?
That's what I'm saying, right? It would be the same kind of vibe in America. I think the only leg up on the contest that we have is, like I said, we've got like everyone in South Africa has security. You've got your walls up and you've got all your things, and it's yeah. So in that way, it just kind of it'll work, I think.
All right, cool. Yeah, this is a stupid one, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What's your favorite dinosaur?
My favorite dinosaur. I'm really bad with the actual names of these guys, so that's bad. But there's one that's is like it looks like it's got like big whale fins and weird body and then like a really long neck. I think basically just because it looks like the Loch Ness monster, but I don't know what you call it.
Oh, I think I know. I don't know what it's called, but I can picture it in my head now. It is, yeah, okay. It's similar to, it's got the long neck, but it's got like the fins almost, so it's in the water. Yeah, but like the Loch Ness monster.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's the vibe. Yeah, that's that would be my favorite. If I could figure out what the name was, I'd tell you, but I can't. Sorry.
Right, I'm going to Google it, and for myself in the editing, it will come up at the bottom what the name of this dinosaur is.
Okay, great.
You feel you need to shut down for an hour. What would you do to aid that?
To just, chill out. Probably. I hardly ever do. That's the problem. So I don't have a very good answer towards it. But I probably just chill out and play with my dog, which is not fully shut down, but it's like, it's just shut down from everything else that's happening.
Hell yeah.
Like, oh, look at this cute little dog, that's good enough.
Yeah, no, I get it completely. Your intention is focused on that dog, and you can spend a lot of time doing that. It's a good answer. What is an achievable goal you would like to hit with Ruff Majik before the end of 2023?
We're heading towards getting that completed, actually. I didn't think we were when we got into 2023, but it looks like we'll be able to do European touring twice this year. Definitely a lot happening in August, but we're doing October as well. Well, like half October, half November. So that is good for me. That was a step that was necessary to take because it's been a while since we've been over there. I would love to get to the UK. That would be great. But at this point, I'm not 100% sure if that's going to pan out the way it's supposed to pan out. But that's the one I would like to achieve, I guess.
Great to hear you got those tours coming up. And if you do make it to the UK this year, or even hell, if you make it next year, that's good enough. And that'll be exciting enough. Penultimate one for you. And it's probably one of the most controversial questions of all when it pops up. It's simply this. Pineapple on pizza. Are you a fan or not?
I like it, I guess, but it's a tough one. So I've never been to a proper Italian place that actually allows you to have pineapple on pizza, and I've always had the better pizza experience there. So I would like to try it on an actual Italian pizza to see if it's good or not. But it's fine on trash pizza because that's not really pizza. That's more of just like a fast food thing. So it's just good, good balance of salty and sweet together. I like it.
Okay. All right. And last but not least, for you, what is the best thing about being in Ruff Majik now?
Right now, I think the best thing is we've got the strongest and most close-knit lineup we've had in forever, and strongest in the sense of just absolute drive between the people, right? Because we've cycled through some musicians that have come in and out, and everyone that's ever contributed to Ruff Majik has been an absolute smashing musician, you know, at the top of their game. And we have that now still, which is fantastic. But for the first time ever, everyone in the band has the one goal in mind of just, you know, pushing towards the next level that we can. And that's fantastic. I've never had that up until now. So I'm quite keen about it.
Oh, fantastic. And so it's paying off, because Electric Ram is April 28th, out April 28th via Mongrel Records. An incredible album. Do check this out. Johni, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Oh, well, thanks for having me, man.
Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com, as well as via our social media, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?